Hey guys, how we doing today? My name is Cheyenne and this is Lapidary for Newbies, and I just want to kind of give you a rundown of what I do, the steps I take to make my cabs, and maybe it'll help you out. I'm fairly new at this myself, but as far as from feedback and my results, I think I'm doing okay with it, and I just wanted to see if I could give you some tips and tricks to help you out, and we'll go from there. So you start out with a slice of stone, rock, called a slab, and then you turn it into a cab. So what I do is I look at the stone and I decide which side is the prettiest and what I'm going to use. For this particular stone, obviously this is the prettiest side. So what I decided to do here was utilize the druzy in this and then draw my talon in and have like a live edge on it. Just the other stones that I've made, you know, this one still has this thing on the back where I got to remove where I had the daub stick on it, but you just try to pick out what is prettiest to you and what you think will make the prettier cab. So that's what I do. So then you draw it on your shape, and then you come to this step, and then you come to this step with the lines on it, and then you come to your finished product. And I'll show you how I get there. So the first thing I do is I pick out my stone. I've chosen this side of the stone. I think it's the prettiest. And then I take my stencil, or I hand draw it, depending on what it is. This stencil here, I made myself because I couldn't find some of the shapes that I was looking for. So I want to place my stencil on the slab and try to get as close to the edge as possible. Maybe I'll have some extra to make something small with. I want to utilize all of your stone because some of these stones are pretty pricey, but just for this video, so I draw my line on, and then I would take it into my cabbing machine. Me and my wife both use Cab King. I have a Cab King 8 and she has a Cab King 6. They are partners in this, and we'll talk more about that later, but just wanted to let you know that. So then after I get it to this, then I take it to my cab machine and I get it to this. Now, the reason why I come back and add the lines is so I can make sure everything is as straight as possible on my stones. Now, some people may not do that, maybe not be a step that they take, but I do because I want to keep the stone that I'm making for myself or that I am selling to a customer as close as perfectly possible as I can get it myself. Or at least I feel that I've done my best job to give them an excellent product. So the two ways that I cut is with angles, where I leave the angle, and I'm not sure that you can see that. I'll try to move it around. I keep a flat top, and then I bevel the angle on the side, and I decide what angle I'm going to use. That one's short, this one's a little bit long or more angled, and then I have my rounded top cabs. Another one here where I've rounded the top. So what I do, and the reason why I do it, is so I keep my line straight. So I look at my cab and I decide where I want to put a line. So I'm just going to say I'm going to do this one right here. So then what I do is I take my Sharpie and I put it on here and I move it back and forth, and that raises and lowers the tip. So I try to get that to line up to wherever I want. It's going to be right here. A lot of times I do it to the AP or the ultrafine or the IE or the R or the S or all the way out to the black tip. But this one, so then I hold that steady and I draw my line around my cab. And that way I know when I'm cutting my angle that I never go below this line, and it'll be straight, and it's easier for jewelers to mount them. I have started to actually, my wife's a jeweler, and we have discussed, so we're going to try to start making it where we cut ours to where they're the perfect height for the jeweler. And we'll add that into our listing. Maybe something you want to do. It's just an extra step that I want to take for people that buy from me, to try to help them out as much as possible, because it's fairly easy to cut it to certain heights. So then the next step I want to do is, then I want to come back and draw on here this line, so I know that I'm cutting from this point to this point, and I don't go above that line or below that line, and it keeps the straight edge. It is easier just to do a rounded top, in my opinion, but I like having the lines in my cabs. I just think it adds something to them, and I like the way the shapes go, and you may as well. So for the cabs that I have here, I didn't draw these perfect by any means. I hand drew them and I cut them out with my X-Acto knife, and I use them as a reference, but I don't have them perfectly shaped like on these stencils here from Cabtopia. So this shape here is a shape that they have on one of their cabs, and I had cut it out to this size here basically. So it's easy just to come back with your secondary shape, or your same shape but smaller, line it up, try to get it as straight as you can so you don't end up with a wonky cab. And it's harder to do it upside down, but then you can draw your line on, and then you'll do the same thing on the side. You'll draw the line around the side and get your cab straight. If you're going to do a rounded top, you don't have to really take this step, but most of the cabs I don't do rounded tops. So even if you wanted to round it somewhat, you can still do this to have the shape in the center. It's up to you. You're making the cab. Those might help you. That's just some of the things that I do to help lay it out and try to get my cabs as straight as possible. I will say on something like this, I wanted to add in something I learned the hard way, was if I started out with something like this, I can go ahead and cut my shape out, and it can be, you know, thick on one side and thin on the other. And if I've taken the steps to get it all straight and polished on the front, to come back and draw my angle on, and then I make the shape, and then I decide to flatten the back, well, the issue with that is, what if it breaks? And that's what happened to me. I was working on one, and the front was beautiful, and then I went to flatten the back, and I guess there was a fault line in there, and it just broke right in half. So luckily I was able to use the two pieces to make something, but sometimes you can't, and it's better just to go ahead and prep it down to the size that you want to use and go from there. That's my personal opinion. They don't have to be any certain thickness. You know, you like to have some level of thickness to it, so it maybe, you know, won't break or whatever, but I don't think there's a hard and fast rule on that. So I just wanted to give you the rundown on the steps that I take. I hope it helps you. Make sure to like and subscribe. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a message and ask. And I'll see you on the next video. Have a good day.